Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the psychological drivers behind wealth accumulation. We're looking at a pretty fascinating concept, why achieving financial independence is actually, honestly, way more about your mindset than your raw income. It's a total paradigm shift that flips a lot of conventional wisdom right on its head.
So take a second and really think about this. What absolutely truly separates wealth from struggle? Society constantly tells us it's just about snagging a higher paying job or, inheriting some massive windfall. But when you objectively look at the behavioral differences, you realize the separation doesn't actually start in your bank account at all. It starts in your head. Two people can literally earn the exact same salary, yet end up in completely different financial universes a decade later. Why? Because of how they process, view, and act upon the world of money.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the mindset divide, then move into redefining assets and liabilities. After that, we'll hit time versus money, approaches to risk, and finally, shifting your perspective. Let's just jump right in. Section 1. The mindset divide. Now, we're all pretty familiar with the everyday struggle of living paycheck to paycheck, right? It's a stressful cycle and it is incredibly common. But there's a specific underlying mindset that often traps people in this loop where their financial decisions become entirely reactionary. We call this the poor mindset, and it's hyper-focused on immediate survival and raw income. It's constantly asking, how much can I earn today just to pay for today? On the flip side, the rich mindset focuses on long-term growth and behavioral habits. Instead of today, it asks, how can I allocate what I have right now to guarantee I have more tomorrow? And hey, this isn't about judging anyone's current circumstances. It's just an objective look at the stark contrast and how we respond to everyday financial pressures.
Moving on to Section 2, redefining assets and liabilities.
Forget the traditional accounting definitions you might have memorized from a textbook, because they really don't apply to the psychology of wealth building. We actually need to completely dismantle some common financial myths by redefining the very things we buy. So an asset is simply this: something that puts money in your pocket regardless of whether you work. Look at how beautifully simple that is. It literally doesn't matter what its market value is on paper. The only thing that matters is cash flow. If you lose your job tomorrow, a true asset just keeps right on generating income for you.
Conversely, a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And honestly, this is the classic trap so many people fall into when they're trying to build wealth. They accumulate all these things that require constant feeding, through maintenance, taxes, or servicing debt. And it just violently drains their resources month after month.
What's really fascinating here is watching how these two different mindsets react to the exact same purchase. The poor mindset often buys a liability, completely convinced it's an asset. The classic example? An expensive primary residence. Society screams that a big house is your greatest asset. But if we stick to our cash flow definition, a house you live in is pulling money out of your pocket for the mortgage, the inevitable roof repairs, the property taxes. It's a liability. The rich mindset, however, channels their capital into buying true assets that actually generate cash flow. Think dividend stocks, a business or a rental property that pays for its own upkeep and then puts a little extra on top.
All right, Section 3, time versus money. If there is literally one resource more critical than money, it's time. And how each mindset views and spends this strictly limited, completely non-renewable resource is arguably the biggest game changer of them all. The poor mindset trades time directly for money. It's your traditional hourly wage or salary model, right? You work 1 hour, you get paid for 1 hour. The problem is, your earning ceiling is hard capped by the 24 hours in a day. Meanwhile, the rich mindset actively uses money to buy time. They leverage systems, they hire out tasks. When someone with a rich mindset gets a bonus, they don't just run out and buy a massive new TV. They might invest that money into a system that frees up 5 hours of their work week every single week for the rest of their life.
Just look at what happens when you project the value of an hour over a 10-year period. The long-term reality is pretty stark. That stagnant wage approach, it barely inches up over a decade. Sure, you might get a 3% raise here and there, but your time is still completely tethered to your physical labor. But look at the compounding asset approach. The value of that person's hour explodes exponentially. By buying assets and building systems, they essentially decouple their earning potential from their physical time. It creates a massive, undeniable financial gap between the two paths.
Which brings us to Section 4, approaches to risk.
The reality is, you absolutely cannot achieve exponential growth without encountering some level of risk. Consider this statement: playing it safe is often the most dangerous financial decision you can make. Really let that sink in for a second.
In an economy where inflation is constantly eating away at the purchasing power of your cash, stuffing all your money under a proverbial mattress practically guarantees a loss. Absolute safety? It's a complete illusion.
So a pretty fundamental truth emerges here. Building wealth isn't about avoiding risk altogether. The poor mindset tries to dodge risk entirely out of this deep fear of loss, desperately clinging to perceived safety. But the rich mindset? They accept that risk is just a natural part of growth. Instead of hiding from it, they learn to manage and mitigate it so they can capture the upside. They educate themselves, they diversify, and they fundamentally rewire their psychological relationship with fear.
Finally, Section 5. Shifting your perspective. Okay, understanding the theory is great, but applying it, that's where the actual transformation happens. So here's a clear, actionable progression for you. Step 1. Audit your expenses to find those hidden liabilities. Seriously, pull up your bank statement. What are you paying for that you thought was an asset, but is actually just bleeding you dry? Step 2. Reevaluate your free time. Are you spending your evenings and weekends just consuming, or are you using that time to build systems, learn new skills, and create actual assets? And step 3, start taking calculated, managed risks. You don't have to go crazy, just start small. Educate yourself on one new investment vehicle and just dip your toes in. To quickly summarize our core takeaways here, you really have to shift your metrics for success. Focus on your net worth, the actual assets you hold, rather than just celebrating a high-income salary that immediately flies out the door to fund a high-consumption lifestyle. Buy your time back. Don't just endlessly sell it to the highest bidder. And most importantly, treat money as a tool to build your future, not as a safety blanket you hoard out of fear.
We've covered a lot of ground today, looking at the very real, objective differences between a poor mindset and a rich mindset. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to chew on this week. Which path did you take the last time you got a raise? Did you immediately increase your liabilities to match your new income, or did you buy an asset? And perhaps more importantly, which path are you going to choose next? Thanks so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.